Welcome to another edition of Conversations Different, the podcast from the Santa Fe New Mexican about interesting people and places of northern New Mexico. This is Inez Russell Gomez, and this week our focus hits close to home, tiny homes that is. We are speaking to the Reverend Joene Herr, whose Christ Lutheran Church in Santa Fe stepped up to shelter people who otherwise might be unhoused in pallet homes, tiny homes. And with Reverend Herr is Povi. She's living in one of the houses in a project called the Safe Outdoor Spaces. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you can call me Joene, and it's Herr auf Deutsch.
Herr, okay.
And yeah, that's not unusual.
All right.
Said something before.
I asked how to say the first name and not the last name, so that teaches me a good lesson.
And I have one other correction.
All right.
We don't use the term houses when we talk about safe outdoor spaces because that's an insurance issue.
Okay.
We have special insurance through our provider, Church Mutual. Yay, because this was a new for them. And they're like, these are not houses.
Okay.
These are pallet shelters. So because people are like, oh, cool houses. No.
Okay, that's a good correction. And sometimes terminology for insurance is very specific.
Oh, seriously.
Yeah.
We had to get $1 million policy just to comply with the city's RFA. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. And that was when they were asking people to be hosts for these.
Which we are.
Which you
Christ
are.
Lutheran Church is a host. We're the owner of the site, and the services are provided by the Lifelink.
Right. It's a partnership.
Correct.
The city bought the shelters and
paid for the construction, the infrastructure. It was not inexpensive. I mean, they're on like a parking lot, but still, the city paid a lot. We have our own P&M. We have
every of the shelters has its own electricity, heating and cooling.
And it's separate but the electricity is separate from the churches.
Right.
It has its own circuit box or whatever, which we had done in 4 months, which from what I've been told is kind of like a miracle.
Wow. And I kept thinking it took forever from the outside.
From the process, we began December of 2022.
Oh, my goodness. And it was up in 2024 in the spring, is that right?
Yes, and the first residents moved in the 1st of April.
1st of April. Now, Povi, when did you start living at the Safe Outdoor Spaces?
The beginning of April.
Okay.
I was approached by Shep, Karen through Shep. She's a Santa Fe Homeless Animal Project, and then the fire department for Santa Fe. They had approached me and asked me if I was interested in getting into pallet shelter, and I was like, yeah. I mean, it would beat being on the street because I was on the street for 5 years,
right?
After a loss in my family, and so it was wonderful when they came in and approached me with it.
How did you deal with being on the street? Like, did you sleep outside all the time? Did you go to different shelters? Did you crash at maybe a friend's house? What did you do before this?
Well, I was mostly independently homeless, meaning I would stay in my own tent, in my own space. I always had a pet with me. My PTSD or service dog I would always have with me. And just independently taking care of myself. I would fly a sign once in a while. I mean, that was earlier in my, when I didn't know what to do when I was homeless. It was just a really new thing, but because I'm not too crazy about crowds and being around too many people. So I would just do my best in taking care of myself. I applied for my SSI and other ways of taking care of myself. I would go to other different shelters if I really needed something. But it was, dealing with it was hard at first. And then I have my daughters that live here in Santa Fe as well. My son, they would offer a couch to me once in a while, but I don't want to put my kids out because I raised them. They don't have to raise me. So
right, that makes sense.
But I mean, all in all, it wasn't too bad. It was just a little getting used to, adjusting to it. But I would pray for something like this to happen,
Right. So what is better about this? Because it's fairly small. So how does that work for you?
Well, I mean, it's maybe the equivalency of like a bedroom. I mean,
okay.
And I made it my own. I decorated it how I wanted to, make it comfortable for myself. it's awesome. I think it's great. I mean, I have neighbors. We're all good with each other. It's a lot of fun. I mean, they take us on field trips. They take us to Walmart once a week. They really take care of us over there.
And there's
Case
meals.
management. Yeah, they feed us every day too. They breakfast. I mean, lunch and dinner. Pardon me. And then they do things. They took us fishing last Friday. No, they took us to a movie last Friday. Then it was fishing the Friday before that. And so we plan really nice things every week. And it's really great. I have great case management there through LifeLink as well. I have one there as well. And, the ultimate goal is to, get me into permanent housing and get my life together. And I feel a lot better. I can wear nice clothes again. I can, feel like myself again before homelessness. Because homelessness, it was just, I was able to, go with the flow, but it's still hard. It was really hard, especially when it was cold. And, you know, and you don't want to ask anybody for anything, And so, but I survived it. Thank God I did. Yeah.
And here you are. And
Yes, ma'am.
you look great. And
Thank you.
We're not a visual medium, but it is definitely different. I know the heat is awful too because it's getting hotter, and if you're outside and you don't have shade.
Well, that was hard, especially with my service animal, because people you get that the meanness of people.
Why do you have a dog?
Yeah, exactly. Why do you have a dog out in this heat, or why do you have a dog for this? You don't deserve a dog, or I'm gonna take your dog, or whatever. I've had so many threats, and that's just a part of it, that you get the hostile people, and it, but I held my ground, stood strong, and my dog wouldn't let me near me anyway, so I just went with the flow. Like I said, just got to do what you got to do to survive.
Yeah.
Eat or be eaten.
And you have air conditioning, but I actually see more often. I don't go in because there are neighbors. Every once in a while, to talk to someone in particular, but there's
air conditioners.
Well, but the shades.
Oh, we have little
awning. Well, not awnings, but what are they?
But a cover, something. So it keeps the heat off of you.
So each little shelter has its own shade and its own little yard.
Oh, speaking of the yards, Pastor here, she gave me a rose bush when I first moved in. She gave me a rose bush
I like that.
And some different flowers. And when I leave there, I'm taking the rose bush with me, because I could just leave it for someone, but it's special to me. It has meaning to it. It means of new growth, new youth, in my life, and that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and when you have a home, whether it's at a shelter or an apartment, or you are living in a freestanding, whatever, you have things that mean something to you, and you get to keep them.
Yeah, because I've lost so much being homeless. I was starting over, I don't know, in the 5 years, I can't even count how many times I had to start all over. Just people stealing my stuff, or the city coming and taking it or whatever, and just, doing what they want to do with it or throwing it away. And, but yeah, moving there has been a definite blessing, and everything that's come with it. I haven't had anything negative happen to me personally over there. And, it's a nice, beautiful area, and just being next to a church feels safe too, and it makes me closer to God, and it makes me feel closer to just, nature in itself, Yeah, there's a lot of piñon nuts on the property there too.
Oh, good. So you're having a good year.
Yeah. It's really nice there. I really enjoy being there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And on that note, we'll take a quick break and be back in a moment with more Conversations Different.
Are you searching for a space of your own that's unique, but feel like you may never find it? HomeWise is here to help. Our El Camino Crossing mixed-use community is in the heart of Santa Fe, with easy access to walking and biking trails, and close to restaurants, breweries, and entertainment venues in the rapidly revitalizing Siler and Agua Fria corridor. Check out our innovative live-work units with energy-efficient features and 2 levels that can be configured for live-work, all live, or all work. Contact us today to learn more about how you can create your own space at El Camino Crossing. Call 505-983-9473 or visit us at homewise.org. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 188231.
We are back with Conversations Different, talking to Reverend Herr and Povi about the safe outdoor spaces. Reverend Herr, I want to go back to what made your church decide to do this, because it's not like half a dozen churches have stepped up.
Oh, I wish they would.
No, they need to.
I wish they would.
They need to.
And I will encourage anyone to listen who's part of any sort of faith or nonprofit community. The city has already purchased 50 more pallet shelters, and they have the funding. They're just looking for someone to host. Obviously, I'm a person of faith, so I tell people this is a Holy Spirit moment, and it was. In 2022, I took an 8-week, very short sabbatical.
Right.
Including 10 days at this hermitage, silence, no speaking, and Big Sur. And I had loaded up books and I had them on my iPad, but they had a kitchen library. And one of the books that I saw and I was like, was Evicted by Matthew, last name starts with S, Pulitzer Prize winning book about the eviction issues, homelessness, and housing issues in Milwaukee, 2 different segments of that city. And I read it. And I went, whoa, when I return to Santa Fe, I want to somehow become involved in the housing homeless issue. And so I shared with my council when I came back, and they said, okay. And I said, well, and you all don't have to. This is something I'm letting you know. This is going to be a passion of mine. I've been part of, and I still am part of, the Interfaith Leadership Alliance.
Right, and that's the group that came together to open the interfaith shelter.
Ago.
Yes, because people were freezing to death and dying.
We can't continue having people freeze to death.
No, and they hosted them in their churches to begin with. Yeah, and
so
synagogues.
I happened to see about an event that was at the City Convention Center in late December, and within the convention hall, they had set up a pallet shelter. And this was the first time I met people who, they were introduced from the Lived Experience Advisory Board. I met Marisol Atkins, who has had to step back from community involvement for personal reasons. And Kathleen Van Voorhees was down from Colorado. And I looked at the pallet shelters, and the speakers announced that they were looking for a place to host. And there was one other person from the congregation. We didn't know until like that afternoon we were going to both be there. And I'm like, we have the space.
Right, because you're kind of tucked away off of Arroyo Chamizo in the parking lots in the back.
And we had a side parking lot that during COVID, we would hold 8 o'clock outdoor worship. But as things have evolved and there's fewer people in person, it was really an unused parking spot. And it is secluded between the church building and this beautiful grove of pinyon and junipers.
Right.
Yeah. And
you're in a beautiful place.
So I took it to our council, and I said, well, do you want me to call and explore? And they're like, yeah. So we had our first visitors walk through that January. And I have a person, Allison Fail, who is the project manager, and she's retired from working for the state of New Mexico, lots and lots of project management experience.
Okay, so she has the talents to keep it going.
She had a dream for years of putting tiny houses, and I use that word, on our property, but we're like, we don't know how, we don't know, sewer, water, how do you do the infrastructure? Well, we began having conversations with people in the city. She started leading people through tours, talking to architects, talking to contractors. We were waiting for the RFA to come out. The city had like Zoom meetings.
That's a request for proposal.
Correct.
Yep, where you make your bid.
And we hosted the end of April a Lived Experience Advisory Board panel.
And those are people who have been homeless and know what it's like. Or were, right.
Had been or were homeless.
Yep.
And so there were 6 of them sharing their stories. And the sanctuary was full, and the next day the city council voted a resolution to go forward. So it took from the end of April to the end of July for them to release the RFA. And during that time, we were like gathering, what's this going to cost? What about this? How do we do this? And there was a group that went up to Aurora and visited a site up there. And I visited the site, City of Hope, down in Las Cruces.
Right, and that's supposed to be quite successful.
Yes, it's a different model. They use tents on flats, but it works for their landscape. It's all local, right?
Yes.
You've got to adapt. So we applied, And we put in some of our own money. We're a small aging congregation, but it was like, this matters. And I've had people say, well, was everyone on the congregation on board? Yes. We've got some retired theoretical physicists who are all like, process.
Right. How do we do,
the logistics.
Yes.
Let's walk through. And I'm like, big picture plan. So they would challenge me, well, how is this going to work? How's this going to work? And it was a 95-page application.
Wow.
It included our Constitution, which is because they wanted to see it. And we were awarded, we went to the city council vote December 13th, where they voted unanimously to award us the contract and LifeLink the contract to be the site provider.
And that's the people who are trying to provide support services so that people can move into permanent.
Exactly. LifeLink provides case managers. They manage the meals. They manage 24/7 security and all the other kind of logistical day-to-day stuff. They interview and work with the park rangers, and they work with a lot of people, their outreach partners, to find people who would be good fits.
Right.
Like Povi.
Right.
And we do accept and welcome four-legged family. So we've had 4 to 6 dogs.
Nice.
And we recently have, through 100 Women Who Care and other means, we've raised over $20,000. So we're going to buy a washer dryer, probably replace an antiquated dishwasher, and I want to put up fencing for a dog park out back because we have the land. Because right now one of the rules is the dogs have to be leashed. Well, that's no fun.
No, that makes sense. Povi, how do you take showers? What happens?
Yeah, I was going to mention this. Actually, the church has a shower right now next to the Safe Outdoor Space office that's in there, and it's really nice how they have it set up. It's a one shower bathroom area. It's real nice. I think it's equipped for like handicapped people, but it's really convenient right now. But they're putting in a permanent spot outside, like outdoor shower thing. It won't be outdoors, but it's indoors. It's another pallet home type thing, pallet shelter type structure, but it has but it's 2 bathrooms.
Good. So that means all your personal needs are taken care of.
Yes. The city purchased the hygiene unit.
Oh, good.
It has 2
hygiene
sinks,
unit,
2 toilets, 1 shower that's attached to our water and to the sewer. So it'll be heated and there's electricity. And because right now we have porta potties outside that we are so looking forward to being. There has to be ramp and steps built, and it's like, get those porta potties out. But we were fortunate, and that was part of our application was that we did have a shower already inside the building.
Nice.
So now there's the 2 showers and 3 toilets and sinks that are for our neighbors to use.
And it's nice to take a shower like when you want to or whatever.
You're right. Instead of the one day, the resource day, or when they're
Right.
Yeah.
Like everybody's in a good flow with it too. They
You respect each other.
Oh yes,
You share.
Yeah. We're very sharing group, and it took a little while to get the formula right. Like when I first moved there were a couple of people that weren't getting along with this one or that one. Or there was a little bit of not getting along, but not much at all. But now it's a good formula. I mean, there's good people. They're all good people. Everybody's different,
right?
But everybody that's there now, we all get along. We all like have something nice to say. We talk to our neighbors, and we just
part of Safe Outdoor Spaces is learning to be a community, learning to live in a community rather than Povi talked about, 5 years, like sometimes going to a shelter or staying with family, but really needing to rely only on herself.
Yeah,
because one of the realities is moving into permanent housing is you're going to have to live in a community, a neighborhood with others.
That's right.
So this is a little neighborhood, and we're a pilot program, so we're learning what works, what doesn't work, and
because I would stay by myself a lot, just me and my animal would stay, or my pet, I don't know, my friend, we would stay by ourselves, and it just felt safer that way. It was just like less fighting, less,
Yeah, your animal wasn't going to try to rob you or take your blankets or whatever. That makes sense.
There were other homeless people that they were ruthless. I mean, they would just take whatever they wanted and just scare me, and like I just so I just stayed by myself. But I like having people I could talk to and get along with, and I have a couple of people living there, or we have people that living there that I've known for years. I mean, since I've been homeless, and that's real nice. But there's also new ones there, and getting to know new people is awesome.
Yeah,
so,
one of the neatest things for me is I'm not in the office building all the time, but when I am in the morning, there have been a couple of times when the mailman has come, or FedEx or whatever, with packages for someone who lives in the shelters. And so I'll sign for them because it's enclosed by a coyote fence with a gated code. So, the mailman can't go in. They have their own separate mailbox and own address. And so I'll sign packages and take them in and knock and go, hey, you got a delivery, like you would do for a neighbor. Yeah. And it is so cool because it is so ordinary.
Right.
If you have an address and a place to leave your stuff and a place you could call home, even though I'm not supposed to use that term. No. It is. I mean, you created the Pallet shelter to be your place.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Oh, that's a beautiful thought. And on that note, we'll take a quick break and be back in a moment.
Thanks, Inez. This is Patrick Dorsey, publisher of the Santa Fe New Mexican. We hope you're enjoying this episode of Conversations Different with Inez Russell Gomez. Great local content is only possible with a talented staff dedicated to bringing you the best local content possible. For that staff to do its work, we need your support by subscribing to the Santa Fe New Mexican. If you're already a subscriber, thank you. And if not, there's never been a better time to subscribe. In addition to our home-delivered newspaper that comes with full digital access, we also provide digital-only subscriptions for SantaFeNewMexican.com. We'll also be releasing more online-only audio and video programming moving forward. The Santa Fe New Mexican has been here for nearly 175 years, and we want to continue being your source for local news and information. Visit us at SantaFeNewMexican.com/subscribe or call us at 505-986-3010. Thank you.
We are back with Conversations Different, talking about the Safe Outdoor Spaces pilot project at Christ Lutheran Church. And Reverend, I want to just ask you what advice you give to other people. Have other congregations or nonprofits come and said, how can we do this? Because I know you only have how many pallets up and running?
We have 10 shelters that can fit up to 20 people. And people aren't assigned randomly, but if it was a couple or siblings or a child's...
Right, if you come as a group, you stay as a group.
It comes with 2 beds.
Yeah. It can come with 2 beds.
So how many people are there now?
10.
10. So it's 10.
Right.
And we obviously have a lot of need for many other people.
Right.
Winter's around the corner, cold nights. What?
I started sharing the process, and it was not easy. We were a pilot program, and we didn't know what we were doing in the city. I mean, Pallet Shelter has done this all over the nation, and so they provided help and encouragement. Actually, just this week, I had a couple stop by from Omaha, Nebraska, who saw and said, whoa, what's this? And their adult son is a contractor, and they're like, we could do this. And so I shared information. We've had people from Tennessee. I just love it. And others from my colleagues in Colorado. We've had a couple of faith communities here in Santa Fe ask questions. And I would encourage anyone to find out more.
Do you think the government's just going to have to find an empty lot and say Santa Fe is going to do this? Because it's not like people are rushing to help, and yet everyone is complaining.
I agree. And it's disappointing because, I've been here, I'm in my 10th year, and we're the city of faith, and I'll challenge my colleagues, like, excuse me, if you have any property that is sitting there, I mean, this is a way for us to live out our faith. Right. We provide,
and do something nice.
One of our mission lines is we minister to the vulnerable and those on the edge. And whenever I've gotten why are you doing this? It's because we minister to the vulnerable and those on the edge. And who is more vulnerable than people who don't know where they're sleeping tonight?
That's right. And what does it say, in the New Testament?
Right.
Jesus,
quote,
the whole thing is like, well, when did I not help you, Master?
Right,
well, when
Matthew
I was
25.
That's
yes,
right.
Thank you. Right. It doesn't take a lot of space, and the city has money. They have money from the federal government,
and somebody
else want to use it. And the LifeLink knows what they're doing.
Yes.
They're really great. This is the LifeLink. I've learned so much in the past year. their focus is on finding people permanent housing.
Right.
And
Which a lot of folks in Santa Fe, according to my letters, think that no one's moving into
Oh, good
permanent
grief.
housing.
No.
And they are.
Well, and safe outdoor spaces is not the solution. It is a small part.
Yeah.
Because part of the issue is there's not enough affordable housing.
Right.
Which is, when you've got, 40% of the population cannot afford to live in the city, that's a whole nother issue.
Right.
And we're doing something now. So when I get frustrated, I think at least there are 10 people and their four-legged family who know where they're going to
That's
sleep
right.
tonight.
And you're not going to freeze to death.
I know. I'm looking forward to being inside in the winter. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, no, I got
5 winters
frustrated.
outside. That was rough.
Like I told you before we started, I volunteer at one of the shelters on the weekends, and it was very frustrating seeing how long some of the people had been going. And it's painful because you think, no, they're supposed to move. Well, then you find out some of the people move on, some of them don't. And one of my friends said, well, it's, what are you doing to fix the problem? I said, I'm not doing anything, but I'm making sure those people aren't going to freeze tonight.
Agreed.
And that's at this point, there's 80 people who aren't going to be dead tomorrow. So that's a good thing.
And that's how I felt since the 1st of April. It's like, okay, is this perfect? No. We have no problems with our neighbors, and I consider the people who live at Safe Outdoor Spaces our neighbors. Every once in a while, because my office, I no longer have the view of the hills. I have a view of the beautiful coyote fence. And every once in a while, I'll hear dogs bark. But isn't that what happens in neighborhoods?
Yes.
I mean,
I'm by a school. I hear them playing in the playgrounds. Yay!
Yeah.
Kayla and I are like right by her window.
So,
Like, we're the-
What kind of dog is Kayla?
she's a boxer Rottweiler pit mix.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's so cute. She's awesome. Kayla.
And she helps you
I
cope.
I rescued her from a really horrible,
Bad
not
situation.
A very lovely, not a lovely situation. They couldn't afford the love that I could afford for her. I mean, being homeless and in the position I was in, I could afford the love that she needed. And I think my previous dog kind of sent her to me because I was heartbroken. I didn't have him anymore. So So
This filled like a hole.
it did. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I had Coda with me for 4 years. 4 years on the street, 3.5. Him and I were ride or die, man. I love that dog. Still love him. He's in Pecos now. He has hip dysplasia.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's better for him
It's
to
better-
have a
yeah,
place where he
better
can.
for him. Yeah, I had gotten double walking pneumonia a couple of years ago, and I couldn't take care of him. So that's when I had a friend who has him now take care of him for me. And it just a year went by, and I figured I'm not going to take him away from him. So
he's
I
comfortable.
stayed sad. I just stayed lonely, and then I was drawn to this house because I could hear this puppy, and I went over to it, and the horrible people. I was like, "Can I take your dog for a walk?" And I took her for a walk, and I never took her back. And
Let's hope they don't listen to the podcast.
I'm sure they wouldn't.
I'm
but no,
kidding.
she's an awesome dog, and they know now. I mean, they know now. They think it's good. They've seen her grow, and it's a good thing,
So you have a young.
Yeah,
You have a young
year.
friend.
She'll be a year next month.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What do you hope happens now?
Well, I'm in no hurry to leave my little pallet shelter right now, but
Be comfortable.
I hope to have my own place, in the future, and I just want to be a grandma. I want to raise my granddaughter. I hope my daughter raise my granddaughter. And I want to be a part of my family a little bit more than I was, because being homeless, it was just, my children, they love me and they'll always love me, but I know that they worried about me a lot. They worried a lot, like where I was going to sleep at night, how I was, if I was being treated okay. I mean, they got to the point where they separated themselves from it. They were like, well,
It's very painful to
pray for
see
mom.
that.
Yeah, we'll pray for mom, but we're not going to enable her, which I didn't want them to anyway.
Right.
Because I was battling a couple of addictions for a couple of years, and with the strength of God and everything, I was able to overcome that, and I'm still overcoming
Knock on
it.
wood.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
And so I just want to stay sober. I want to stay happy. I want to stay getting healthier, start going to meetings a little bit more, and
Christ Lutheran hosts NA and 1AA meeting 7 days a week.
Okay.
So
people can go right there if
and
that's
part
one of their
our-
issues.
It's like if someone wants to come and worship with us, great. I mean, it's not a requirement
It's a
by any
wonderful
means.
church.
And we have all these NA meetings, and there are wonderful people there
And they
who
have a food
will offer
pantry.
support. And we have a food pantry every
pantry, yeah,
Thursday
that's
morning.
Yeah.
I used to take communion to an elderly woman who passed away, and her son, they had a beautiful relationship, but a fractured relationship because he was gay and she couldn't accept it in her very old school Catholic lady. And he had her service at Christ Lutheran, and it was such a welcoming, kind memorial service. And I always thought, you know, and that wasn't his church. He just went there, I think, because of the flag, honestly, or he knew someone who went there. And it was just such a welcoming place. And I've always had a warm spot in my heart, especially when I go by and see Food Kitchen on Thursdays, too.
We have a flag that's over the entrance to the sanctuary that's in like, not rainbow, but all the colors, LGBTQ colors, that says all are loved. Or you are loved. Yeah, you are loved.
Yeah.
And, you know, so regardless, I hope that people see that and go, okay.
That's right. And love is words, but it's also action.
Actions.
And look at the action. You are loved, and now you have a place to sleep.
That's what we're trying to provide.
I think we need to have more love in a very unlovely world right now. And, you know, I think everybody should love each other. I mean, like, try to. I mean,
That's right.
You know, it took me a long time to try to love just my neighbor, you know. But
and love yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm loving myself every day a little bit more. And, you know, I love my dog. I love you know, she's brought a lot of, she's filled a lot of emptiness inside me. You know.
And I'm going to comment, because I've seen, too, some nasty posts about, well, you know, they've got these dogs outside in the heat and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, someone shared with me, if you're unhoused and you have a four-legged dog, that dog's got to protect you, so at least you could get a little bit of sleep and not have to worry about someone attacking or stealing your stuff without awaking you. And so now I know why people don't have cats.
That makes sense.
Because the cats would be like, whatever.
Whatever.
You know?
Well, and the other thing is that if the dog's out in the heat, so's the person.
Right.
And maybe that's more of a problem, or at least as much of a problem.
Agreed.
You know?
Well, I think with my dog, and too, it's a saying, like, love has no address, you know?
Yes.
I mean, no matter where we're at. I mean, as long as we're together, we're a family, and we love each other. And if we're smart enough, we're going to try to make sure our animals aren't uncomfortable. And, you know, I never had really mine out in the blistering sun or anything. I always had an umbrella. Even to this day, when I take Kayla out, I always have an umbrella with me, or whichever. We got stuck in the rain a couple of weeks ago, like, just stood by a tree. And it's just, you know, I mean, we could have stayed there for the rest of the, you know, month. But, you know, I mean, as long as we're together. And but now that we have this shelter, I mean, it's amazing. You know, we play in there, we sleep in there, we made it our own. She has her own little bed, and it's just been really nice. It's a very wonderful, and I highly recommend it to those, you know, in the future, and I recommend it to the people that we need more space for more. You know.
Yeah.
You had asked Povi about her plans. There's not a time restriction, because we know that affordable housing is really, really limited. We have had one, and I don't keep the details. This is the lifelink, but I've been told that one person was able to move into permanent housing. I know at least one, maybe two people have jobs because they can leave their stuff. They have an address. They could go work. And one guy's been able to buy a car.
Oh, I love that. That's a great success story.
So people could stay until they have someplace else to go, because other models were like, well, they, you know, 6 months
and you're gone.
And it's like, no, that's not long enough.
No, it's like a year, I think, is the minimal. Another thing I want to say, they've helped me replace my birth certificate, my social security card, a lot of important documentation. It's been a really wonderful experience. I mean, it's helped restore a lot of my life that was missing, yes, and so I thank you.
And that's the Lifelink, but that's what Lifelink does, and that's why we're good partners. So anyone considering listening, going, well, we wouldn't know what to do, all you really need to do is have a spot of land.
Have the space.
Have the physical space. Have the physical space, because the city's waiting for you to call and say, gee, and the Lifelink is waiting to partner.
Right. Okay, so on that note, this has been another Conversations Different, and we'll be back next week.